This week on Aussie Arvos, we're at the first ever Kincrome Invitational, and we've got a brand new mod to install on the 80 series, so let's get right into it.
Welcome back to Aussie Arvos. Today we're at the Kincrome Invitational, and I'd say we're in for one hell of a weekend.
Best 2 minutes of my life. Alright, so we're at the Kincrome Invitational. We've got all the cars lined up behind me. There's like a heap of different cars from all different YouTubers. Like, it's actually pretty crazy to have them all here in the one place. But it's just basically a thing where all guys from Kincrome meet up. Obviously like a big camping trip almost.
Yeah, it's the ultimate pretty much camp trip. We've got all the toys and yeah, heaps of people here to enjoy it. So we're going to be using all of these chariots, I suppose you call them, to
these are taxis essentially.
Yeah,
so we're moving everyone around throughout the whole event because they've got like the side-by-sides doing stuff over there. They've got other stuff down by the river. There's stuff going on all over the place. So these things are going to help get everyone around. So yeah, it should be an awesome weekend. And yeah,
let's just hope Paddy's Land Cruiser doesn't break down while he's ferrying people to and from the racetrack.
So I got Kincrome tools to fix it, so we're all good. All right, let's do it.
So we loaded up the cars with passengers and headed over to the first event of the day, which of course was a drag strip. So we won't spoil the results, but everyone got a chance to run their car on the strip. But I can show you one drag race.
Alright, so while we're in amongst the drag races, me and Dan are going to have a race to see whose car's slower because they're both slow. Oh, the slowest drag race in history, I reckon. I got him. That's the main thing. Alright, now we're versing the quad bike. I knew you'd have me.
I think I'm going to get that much grip, eh?
Nah, you're fine.
Up next, we headed over to the racetrack. The same racetrack where the side-by-sides, motorbikes and ATVs were racing. And we were allowed to take our very own vehicles on the track. And well, no one held back. Especially Dan. Yep, I never thought I'd see that museum spec patrol run around a racetrack. But now it was time for the big one. A ride along in a race spec Polaris Razor Pro R side-by-side with a championship winning driver.
Oh, it depends on how dusty it is out there. It's up to you, brother. What do you reckon? I'll wear one now. Got a gear. That is absolutely unreal.
I just can't believe how well it handles. Like, there's a reason they can drive those things for like however all day long, because like when you're in it, you think oh, like you brace yourself for a bump and you just don't even feel it at all. Just it's absolutely unbelievable.
Oh, it's insane. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, every time you feel like you're like, oh, it's not going to pull up in time, it just does. It's wild.
That was freaking best 2 minutes of my life. That was absolutely insane.
So massive thanks to the entire team at Kincrome for putting on an awesome event and having us all out there. It was great catching up with everyone and we can't wait till the next one. So check out the Kincrome side-by-side episode coming soon and make sure you subscribe to Kincrome for your chance to win $5,000 worth of Kincrome. But now it's time to get back in the shed because we've got some work to do.
Alright, so we're back in the shed and the 80 series is up on the hoist because today we've got another big upgrade to install on it. Now this is one I've been waiting to do for a long time, so let me show you what it is. So this is a Long Ranger 166 litre replacement fuel tank. So this replaces the factory 55 litre sub tank and gives you 166 litres of fuel storage. Now I've been wanting to upgrade the fuel storage on this car for some of the longer trips we have planned next year. Currently it does have around 145 litres of fuel storage, which gives me around 1,000 Ks. But adding this bumps it up to 256, which will give me around 1,900 kilometers of range on the vehicle, which is absolutely insane and literally would cover anything you ever need to do across Australia. All right, so for you guys who know the 80, you know it's got the 90 litre main fuel tank at the front there and then this 55 litre sub tank here. Now, it also does have a spare wheel that sits right here, but on my car, I've got it sitting on the rear bar, so it's not here, but all that mounting hardware is still here, so all this needs to get ripped out before we can get this tank out. Thank you. Oh, that's a decent amount of weight in that. Weight reduction.
Once the spare tyre mounting is removed, you can disconnect the fuel tank sender wire, unplumb the tank, remove your exhaust, and then finally unbolt the tank. It also pays to drain the fuel tank before you take it out of the car.
Wow, it's very flat.
Yeah, it's compact, eh? All right, so with the old sub tank now out of the car, we're ready to put in our new Long Ranger replacement tank. Now, there are a few reasons why I picked the Long Ranger tank out of all of the long range tanks that are out on the market. When picking the long range tank, I really wanted one that was going to be strong enough to handle the conditions I drive in, because I've heard a lot of stories about people's, aftermarket fuel tanks, welds cracking, tanks leaking. I didn't want to deal with any of that. Like, I'd rather keep just the standard one if that was going to be the case. These Long Ranger tanks are Aussie made. They're made with a thick 2mm steel. They're folded one continuous piece of steel throughout the bottom, so there's less chance of welds cracking because this is all just one continuous piece of folded steel. The design I just thought was a better design, and that's why I chose a Long Ranger. So before we can get this new tank in the car, we need to transfer over the level sender float arm, which is basically the little arm in there that tells you how much fuel's in the tank, and then that sends it back to your gauge on the dash. So we'll transfer that over.
Now the manual states you can use your old sender and bend the arm to accurately read the bottom half of the tank. But if you want to get correct levels for the whole tank, you'll have to extend the arm. Luckily we had a spare sender from a 75 series that had a correct length float arm to give full reading of the fuel level. And with that sorted, we could put the new fuel tank in the car. The tank gets mounted using U-bolts on the chassis cross member, while the back of the tank attaches via bolted brackets to the chassis.
All right, so the Long Ranger fuel tank is in the 80. It was a little bit of work just to get it to fit perfectly. I've got the rear bar and all that, and how that clamps to the chassis rail. It makes it a bit of a tight fit, but it all got in there, so that's great, even with my Heyman Reese tow bar, so it all fits in. Now I'm really stoked with the clearance on this thing. The way it mounts in here, the lowest point of the car still is the tow bar, so this should really be pretty protected and not be in too much harm's way, which is awesome. Now because this tank is a direct replacement tank, it means everything already lines up. So we just need to go get our filler neck and our breather hose, and that'll plumb straight into the body, which is awesome. And same with the rear, the return and the feed, they actually supply 2 new hoses, so that's all easy to plumb in as well. So we should be pretty much there. We'll go get those hoses on, fill it up with fuel, drop it down, and it should be good to go. All right, the tank's plumbed in, it's all fitted up. It fits my 3-inch Legendex exhaust, which is awesome. A lot of aftermarket tanks struggle to get a true 3-inch exhaust in there, so that's sick. We're all ready now to drop it down the ground and fill her up.
Right there.
Heavy. Oh, sorry. Sorry. And they do recommend that you should change the filter, a couple thousand Ks after you've had the tank in. Luckily my fuel filter's due in like 1,000 Ks, so that's perfect. Because this is just our fuel reuse from our old fuel tank, so it should be all pretty clean. But it's more into if there's any residue from manufacturing of the tank. They say to change your fuel filter. Yeah, I had a look in there, it all looked pretty bloody clean, so. So I've played a little bit around with the sender just to see if we can get a little bit more accurate on the gauge, because it wasn't actually really showing up any fuel level, even when we had, 40 litres in there. So we've played around with a little bit and we've managed to get it to show up just a bit on the gauge, so that's enough. It'll sit on dead empty when we've got, around 20, 30 litres left, which is fine for me. I'm almost going to treat it like a reserve, so that's fine. So I think with all that, we can go fill the tank properly, and this thing's going to be right to go. All right, so that's the Long Ranger tank installed in the 80. I'm super stoked with how it turned out. And just so you guys know, I'm not gonna be driving around, with that thing full of fuel all the time, because obviously it's a bit of weight to have on the back of your vehicle. But when it comes to doing those big missions across Australia, this thing's gonna get an absolute workout. So really excited to use it. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to give it a like, get subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one.